living beyond the broken pieces. Living beyond the broken pieces. Moses, at the time of our text, is on the mountain spending uninterrupted time with God. Moses is called from responsibility with the children of Israel to have moments of reflection with God. God calls Moses to the mountain to establish a new set of law and responsibility. This is the first time God has ever added to the commandments and the covenants that he started with Abraham. God tells Moses, come to the mountain and spend time with me. While God has summoned Moses to the mountain to spend uninterrupted time with him, the children of Israel convinced their leader, Aaron, to build for them a molten calf. Something of idolatry to worship, because they are becoming complacent because the leader that they have is out of their sight. They're becoming so carnal that they cannot wait for God to release the leader from being in his presence to come back to them. The Bible says they build a molten calf, and Aaron and all of the people go and worship an idol god. These are the people who have just come from the hand of Pharaoh, from the grip of the enemy, from Egyptian captivity, being spared at the hand of God. These are the people who have placed the blood of the Lamb on the doorposts and watched the death angel pass over, and are now not worshiping God, but idol gods. These are the people who have just seen their enemies defeated in water that they got through. Yet they have turned their face from worship to God to worship to idols. The Bible says that they are now worshiping a golden calf, and Aaron, who is left in charge, allows them to build an idol god. Can I tell somebody that's where many of us find ourselves today? Where we know better, but we don't always do better. Oh, can I tell somebody, this is what psychologists call the bystander effect. A few years ago, there was a woman by the name of Kitty Genovese who was beaten up on her way home from work. There was a man who stabbed her 2 times in the back, and the story is that while she was being abused on her way home, someone saw the incident, yelled out the window, and her opponent stopped beating her. Went and changed his clothes, came back, and about 30 minutes later found Genovese unconscious in her apartment building. Goes back to beat her to the point of death. And a few days later, when the article Roxanne is released, the major story in the paper is that while Genovese was being abused, 38 people watched from the window of their houses but did nothing to help. Can I tell somebody that's where many of us sometimes find ourselves? because of trying to protect ourselves. We don't take a stand for what's right. Aaron, who should have known better, and people in the crowd who should have been doing better, yet they find themselves worshiping an idol god. Imagine how Moses feels on the mountaintop of God, and God interrupts their time of sharing and says, Moses, hold on. You gotta leave from the mountain. Right. Because the people that you pastor are at the bottom of the mountain worshiping somebody else. Imagine what it feels like to have God stop you in time and communion with Him to tell you that the thought you have charge over has started doing something else. And the Bible says when Moses gets to the bottom of the mountain, in anger he drops the tablets that he's been working on with God. Moses gets to the foot of the mountain and drops the only project he's worked on one-on-one with God. Moses is not even at fault for what's going on, but his life is now in broken pieces because of somebody else's negligence. Moses' life is now in shattered states because of somebody else's problems. Moses now finds himself dealing with an issue that is not his fault. And I came to talk to somebody in Asbury today that finds your life at the bottom of the mountain, dealing with brokenness, dealing with a situation that's not your fault, but you feel the crunch of somebody else's actions, something that is not something you participated in, but yet you feel the brokenness attached to it because it's not your fault, but you feel what it feels like to suffer the anxiety of somebody else's decisions. It's not your fault, but you feel the crunch of somebody else's actions. The relevant question is, how do I live my life beyond the broken pieces? How do I live my life beyond what's going on right now? How do I keep on striving though I find myself at the bottom of the mountain in brokenness that's not something I caused, but something I'm the victim of? Can I tell you, number one, keep the faith. Moses drops the tablets, but the first thing God says to Moses is, Moses, this ain't the end for you. Can I tell somebody, I don't know what's broken in your life, what you're struggling with right now, but can I tell you, hold on to your faith. Because it doesn't matter what's broken in your life. God has a way of turning broken things around. Oh, you gotta keep the faith. And you know how Moses can keep the faith? Because the same God who brought you up is the same God who can bring you through. Oh, just help me preach for a moment and tell somebody, say, neighbor, the reason why I can keep on holding on is because I've seen God do some stuff in the past that shows me He can do some more. I've seen God do enough stuff that I don't quit when I get in trouble. I don't give up when things aren't going my way. But I hold on, square my shoulders, and tell the enemy I'm keeping the faith. We got some in church who are always ready to give up when difficulty comes. But can I tell somebody, the way to show